Good night, everyone. I am back to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments right now and I will answer them. Now, you can ask anything that's U.S. immigration related. This will be my last live session for today. I am closing out the beginning of the holiday weekend with you all. So go ahead, take advantage of me being here. I will be here tomorrow. I'll be here the day after. But now is your chance to ask your questions now. So I am here to answer your U.S. immigration questions. I'm going to formally introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm U.S. immigration attorney Sharifa Tharp, and I help clients to get their green card and status in the United States. So if you have a question, an immigration related question, go ahead, put it in the comments right now so that I may answer those questions. I usually come with a topic to talk about today. Earlier on today, I talked about fixing your immigration status. Hi there. It's nice to see you, Vice 137 in, I think that's New Hampshire. It's nice to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So go ahead, put your questions in the comments. Now, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to the link in my bio. It's going to take you to the firm's website where you learn more about the firm. You learn more about me as an attorney, what I've done. And you can get in touch with me. I am available through the contact form, and you can also call the phone number. The phone number is 561-405-4889, where you can speak to a scheduling coordinator who will be available. Hi there, it's nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi. Where a scheduling coordinator will be available up until 11 p.m. tonight to take your information. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments, or if you want a personal legal consultation where you can get advice about, hi there, Carmelita, it's nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi. Feel free to put your questions in the comments, even if I'm talking. So Jadine Queen, unfortunately, I'm a U.S. immigration attorney only. And so I only provide legal advice regarding legal general information on the U.S. immigration process. You'd have to find a Canadian immigration attorney. But if you're curious about coming to the United States, go ahead and put your questions in the comments. Hi there, Queen Josette. It's nice to see you. So I have 3 kids born in USA, and I with him inside USA. Can we get permanent resident inside USA? Because unfortunately, children alone would not qualify you for permanent residence. However, if you have your children are, we all consider our kids our children, but if they're adult children and they are 21 and up, they could apply for you, and that would qualify you to stay in the United States. Also, if you have other relatives, you may be able to qualify, but you would not be able to qualify just based on having children. Unfortunately, that's not the case. How long after arriving on a B2 can we get married and contact your office for AOS? So there is no limit on when you can get married. You, Vice 137, there are no rules. But what I can tell you is that before you make any moves, it's best to get legal advice. Because there may be something in your background or something that you're concerned about, that if you make any moves without getting legal advice could, interfere with your application. So you want to make sure before you make any moves at all, you plan ahead, schedule a consultation. And so I advise couples even before they get married. And then when they do get married, coming out, they are confident. So coming out of the consultation, they are confident that they are on the right path, or they know what they have to do. And so they go and they can get married. And I, if they choose, they can retain me as their attorney. And I'm there every step of the way to help them to prepare to adjust status. But you have to meet specific requirements. So to adjust status in the United States through a U.S. citizen spouse, you can do that. Now, you have to make sure you came in on a B2, which that's the case here. If you do have a green card holder spouse, keep in mind that adjustment of status is not going to be for every spouse of a green card holder. That spouse has to maintain legal status for the duration of the process. Whereas if you have a U.S. citizen spouse, you would be able to fall out of status and still get adjustment of status. So very important to get legal advice before you make any moves. How long gonna take for the paper if you're under 21? So if you're under 21 and you're applying through a U.S. citizen, and right now a permanent resident parent, it's taking about anywhere from 18 months to 24 months. Greetings, if you receive prima facie, what it means, what is next. So prima facie is definitely a good sign, because what it means is that an officer looked at your application. So let me backtrack here so everybody understands what I'm talking about. So usually when we're talking about the prima facie letter, we're talking about applying for the green card based on mistreatment by a U.S. citizen so a U.S. citizen or a green card holder spouse, a parent, or a citizen son or daughter 21 and up. And so once you submit all the evidence and it looks good, there's a preliminary review of your application, and they send a prima facie letter if everything looks good and you appear to qualify. So it's sort of like a pre-approval letter. But keep in mind that the officer is going to then review it in more detail and may have additional questions before making a decision. But that's a good sign. Oh, I don't have a visa. I'm from Trinidad. What can you advise for me? So not everyone is entitled to get a visa. Now, the visa I was talking about is the E2 Treaty Investor Visa. You still have to apply for it, and it's not automatic. You have to show that you qualify as an investor, so that you're going to work for an E2 business, or that you're going to invest or expand your business or start a business in the United States. So you still have to show you have a substantial investment in that business in the US. So it's a process. So applying for a visa, any type of visa, isn't necessarily an entitlement. It really depends on how you qualify. Hi, what happens when you're married to a green card holder who's not a permanent resident yet? And now if they're not a permanent resident yet, get legal advice, because I don't know what's going on there. So you got married to someone who is a permanent resident, but you want to first make sure that it's not going to disqualify them from getting their permanent residence. So nice, it can get a little complicated. Marriage can even affect their eligibility for the permanent residence, so you want to be careful with that. Jari, you're welcome. Antonio, it's nice to see you. Thanks for saying hello. So put your questions in the comments, because that is exactly why I'm here. I'm here to answer your questions. I also come with a topic that I'd like to talk about, and that's going to be how to fix your immigration status if you're in the United States and you want to stay in the United States. But in the case that you can't even do that, how can you leave the United States and fix your status anyway? So USCIS, how long does it take for response to the RFE? So Sandeep, it all depends. I would say give it a couple weeks to even months. It depends on the where is asking for the request for evidence. My mother has started my filing. However, I'm an investor in an American company. Does that help? So not necessarily. So being an investor in an American company isn't going to speed up your process. But you could qualify in other ways. It depends on how much you're investing in the company. What role are you playing in the company? Are you part owner of the company? How much percentage are you? So Sandeep, it's VAWA, and it really depends. So you could be looking at a few months. So about 3 months. It could be more, could be less. But I would say the safe bet is about 3 months to get a response on the request for evidence. Just try to keep up on your case. I know with the VAWAs, when you're not an attorney, it can be very frustrating to try to navigate communicating with the office just because you have to do everything in writing. So I know that can be frustrating, but you should, it could take weeks to a couple of months. So keep those questions coming. I'm here. You're welcome, Sandeep. I'm here to answer your immigration questions. So put your questions in the comments. Now, if you don't qualify to apply for the green card while in the United States, what can you do? So there is a waiver for that. If you're here without status and now you're stuck, because if you leave the United States, you've overstayed, and now you're at a point where if you leave the United States, you could be barred for 3 years, meaning can't come back with green card, can't come back with a visa. Same if you overstay by over a year, that goes to a 10-year bar. So how can you fix that to be able to leave the United States and attend your green card interview? And the answer here could be the waiver, and I'm going to explain that. So I married last September. I'm still waiting my wife's passport. Is that okay without passport? So I'm not sure where, first of all, what's the status of your wife? Who is the citizen? Who is the U.S. citizen? Who is a legal permanent resident? Now, if you're trying to use a passport to prove U.S. citizenship, then a birth certificate could also be an alternative to proving that you're a U.S. citizen. So it all depends, Marcos. And so that waiver, let's talk about that waiver. So if you have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse or parent, they could help you to fix your status. If you can show that your spouse or parent will experience extreme hardships if you don't get the green card. So I'm the green card holder. My wife, she lives in Africa. So she will definitely need a passport. Now, during the initial process, she may not need the passport. However, when she's going to get the immigrant visa, if you're applying for an immigrant visa, then she will definitely need her passport to be able to go forward with the process. Usually the passport has to have a 6-month validity in order to move forward and get that immigrant visa and the passport and to travel to the United States. So that waiver, right? If you have a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardships if you don't get the green card, then you can qualify to fix your status. And you're welcome, Marcos. You can fix your status. And then when the interview is scheduled at the embassy in your home country, you could travel there with that approved waiver. And that means that the overstay will not be held against you. And all being well, you're approved for the immigrant visa, you will not be barred from re-entering the U.S. So if you're being filed for, is it okay to apply for a visa while you're waiting? That can be tricky. You're always free to apply. But when you go to the interview, don't hide anything. Don't try to say you're not being filed for. Be honest with the officer. The officer might ask you about that. If you're being filed for, you have to be honest. And so some officers, if it takes 15 years for the green card application to be processed, they may still give you the visa because they know you're not going to be able to maintain status in the United States or it will be a lot harder for you if you decide to overstay. However, if you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen or even if you have a permanent resident spouse, for example, and the process is quicker, they may pay more attention to your immigrant intent because now soon in the future you'll be able to come to the U.S. And so if they're looking at it like if you get the visa now, you could just very well overstay and just stay in the United States. So it depends. You're free to apply. So I've seen some cases they get it successfully, no problem, and in other cases not so much. These are great questions so far. Keep putting those questions in the comments because that's why I'm here to answer questions just like this. So you're welcome, 1977. This is my second time on today, and it's my last time being on for the day. So take advantage of me being here to answer your questions. I will be back tomorrow. I'll be back the day after. But I just want you to know that if you have your question now, go ahead and put it in now. So I have been talking about, so Rana Singh, thanks for the follow. So I've been talking about applying for the waiver to fix your immigration status because what usually happens is that when you come and you overstay, and if you don't qualify to apply for the green card while being in the United States, what happens is you are at a point of no return because you can't leave the country either. So you're stuck in limbo because if you overstay by 180 days, you'll be barred. If you leave the country, you'll be barred. No green card, no visa, no coming back to the US for at least 3 years. If you overstay by over a year, that turns into 10 years. And so it's so important that you know that you can't just, if you're applying for a green card, you can't just get up now and go to your interview that's at the embassy in your home country. You will need to apply for a waiver, an unlawful presence waiver. To qualify for this type of unlawful presence waiver, your only immigration violation would have to be that you overstayed in the US. Now, and that you have a US citizen or legal permanent resident spouse or parent who will experience extreme hardships if you don't get the green card. But what will happen is that once you get this you can stay in the United States, by the way, to be able to get this waiver. Now, once the waiver is approved, it will allow you to leave the United States to do that thing you couldn't do before. Leave the United States and attend the interview in your home country at the embassy, and then at that point the officer would not use the overstay against you as long as everything else looks good. They would approve you, all being well, and then you would be able to come back with an immigrant visa about 2 to 3 weeks later and become a permanent resident. So that is a way to fix your status if you have no other options. Now keep in mind that there are ways to stay in the United States and fix your status and apply for the green card while being in the US. But only specific individuals qualify, and I'm going to list those individuals here for your information. Now, before I do, I want to let you know that I want to hear your questions, and that's my main priority. So put your questions in the comments and I will go ahead and answer. If you want to listen and get some good information, you can do that too. But the individuals that can stay in the United States, fix their status, and get the green card and a work permit would be the spouse of a U.S. citizen, the parent of a U.S. citizen, and the U.S. citizen is 21 and up, or the son or daughter of a U.S. citizen under 21 and unmarried. In addition to that, if you are here and you have a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident spouse, a U.S. citizen, if you're under 25, a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident parent, or you are even the parent of a citizen's son or daughter 21 and up, and they're mistreating you. So they are subjecting you to extreme cruelty. They're mistreating you verbally, mentally, emotionally, financially, and even physically. Then there is a path for you to apply for your own green card, stay in the United States, and get the work permit. So that is another way that you can adjust status in the United States and not necessarily have to leave the country. Now also, if you're a T or a U visa recipient, that is also a way to stay in the United States and adjust status. But of course, you'd have to jump through the hurdle of getting the T or U. And so the first is to get the T visa or the U visa. The U visa is for victims of crimes. Now, while the application is pending, you can also get a work permit. The T visa is for victims of sex and labor trafficking, and that can also allow you to get the work permit. And then 3 years after having these types of visas, you can adjust status in the United States without leaving. And so you can self-petition for yourself as well. So those are good options if those are available to you, and if you have been through ordeals like that where you've been the victim of certain crimes, or you've even been trafficked. And when I say trafficked, it's usually coerced. So somebody convinced you to come to the US, and then they used you or made you do things against your will. So I live in Texas, and next month I have moved DC. Is that okay for my wife? Process we can change. So yeah, if you do a change of address and you make sure that you get the immigration has your new address, it should not be a problem. Neil McFoy, thanks for the follow. Angelie, thanks for sharing the live. What do you think about wastage of employment-based green cards? So when you say, can you explain what the wastage means? Now, I know that some employment-based green cards are extremely backlogged, especially when it comes on to certain countries like India and China. You know, they are waiting forever for certain employment-based green card applications. And that in itself is definitely a shame, and they should really try to fix that situation. It's not very fair. So thank you again for your helpful, and I'm glad I could help you. That is exactly why I'm here. I'm here to help you answer your questions. Now, I want you to know that if you would like personal legal advice, because the information here I'm giving you is general information, you can go to the link in my bio. And when you go to the link in my bio, it will lead you to the website with my phone number. We have a contact form, and you can go ahead and contact us in those ways. Know that a scheduling coordinator is available up until 11 p.m. tonight. So why not take advantage of that? Yep, so that is happening. Samir 79, that's happening across the board, unfortunately, because of the backlog. Marcos, okay, I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Now, a scheduling coordinator is available up until 11 p.m. tonight. Tomorrow and Sunday, there is also going to be a scheduling coordinator who is available between noon and 5 p.m. to take your calls and schedule your consultations. So as you, if you're not working, if you have a minute to call and schedule a consultation, now would be the time, or even tomorrow, Sunday. So there is someone who is always going to be available to take your call and schedule your consultation. That is all I have for you today. So if you would like to follow me, come on when I'm coming on live. I come on every day. I usually come on at the end of the day to close out the night with y'all, because I enjoy answering your questions. So let's see, 1977. Is it normal to be waiting 7 years after the filing process has started? In some cases, yes, unfortunately. And 1977, it depends on who is sponsoring you. But for example, if a US citizen sponsors their son or daughter who's 21 and up, they're looking at about 6 to 7 years. Angelique, do you know when the embassy in Jamaica will reopen to the public? So the embassy in Jamaica, they are scheduling interviews for certain categories. What you can do is go to the website, go to the US Embassy's website in Kingston, and see if they are providing updates on what they are doing and what their procedures are. So thank you everyone for your questions. Thanks for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow, usually at the end of the day, to take your questions. Sometimes I hop on in the middle of the day. So what you can do is follow me. As soon as you see me go live, you can hop on and ask anything that's immigration related. Angelique, you're welcome. So I will see you tomorrow. If you would like to schedule a consultation, now is the time to do it. A scheduling coordinator is available up until 11 p.m. to answer your questions. For those of you who are in the United States, have a great holiday weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.